Hello and welcome to Veeam Industry Insights. My name is Jeff Reichard. I work in Veeam's Office of the CTO, and I'd like to wish you welcome here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. We have a great talk lined up for you today. I am joined today by Giovanni from Accenture. Giovanni, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Jeff, and thanks for the opportunity to be here today. I'm Giovanni Spina, Senior Manager in Accenture, part of Cloud First, and CTO of the Accenture Cloud Innovation Center in Rome. It's a pleasure to meet you all virtually.
Very good. And we're also joined by Fevzi Konduk of Red Hat.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Fevzi Konduk. I'm leading the EMEA software and ISV ecosystem, and this is where the Veeam relationship resides. I joined Red Hat 13 years ago, and I have a strong background in both technology and sales, and I'm based out of Sweden.
Very good. Thank you so much. And Fevzi is actually joining us live from Red Hat in Dubai today, from Red Hat Summit in Dubai. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on because we've got another North American event. Speaking of geography, as we usually do, please put in the chat on whatever platform you're viewing today's live stream from, where you're joining us from. And we will take a couple of quick breaks during the course of the show to take a look at the map and see where we have folks on the live stream today joining from. But let's jump right in. Both Fevzi and Giovanni are very experienced in helping organizations with application and with platform modernization. And one of the things that many of our listeners might have heard of when we talk about platform and application modernization is something called the 7 R's. Those 7 R's, if you're not familiar with them, stand for when you're looking at what to do with an application that you've had on-prem and that you might want to be putting up in the cloud. And the first option, obviously, is to retire applications. If it's legacy, if it's no longer needed, maybe you can dispense with it and just retire it. The next option is to replace with software as a service or open source. The third R is to relocate. That's your basic lift and shift of applications, just like they are in the data center, but now hosted in the cloud. Replatforming means changing some components to cloud native, maybe keeping your application the same, but substituting a cloud-based platform as a service database for your previous on-prem. The really exciting ones, and the ones that often require a lot more work, are the last three, which is reuse, refactor, and rebuild. Reusing means keeping your application's data models, but redesigning the user experience. Refactoring means changing the code to improve performance, stability, and other elements of your application. And rebuild means basically what it says, recoding the applications to change functionality to address old defects, and especially to embrace things like microservices in cloud-native applications. This is what Fevzi and Giovanni help organizations do day in and day out at Red Hat and Accenture. And so we're going to spend today digging into those and into how do they relate to Veeam's Kasten K10 product. Giovanni, that list of 7 R's can sound intimidating maybe for some people who haven't been on this journey yet. Obviously, Accenture has a very strong track record supporting customer migration and helping folks with this experience. Can you talk with us about why clients look to Accenture for help with this experience?
Absolutely. Jeff, our clients, we know, are facing large-scale challenges, particularly with financial efficiency, speed and agility, business transformation. And also, the use of legacy technology limits the organization's ability to change and innovate. Cloud becomes the solution, unlocking the agility and innovation needed to address these challenges. We are talking about a new cloud continuum that is emerging, that is spanning public, private, and edge computing. And most companies need an overall cloud strategy that embraces this new reality. But as you said, the migration to cloud must be well handled. For example, we need to have a discovery phase followed by a detailed migration plan, a full automated migration design followed by an execution of migration, as well as we need to perform some post-validation checks enabling us to say we achieved our migration target. Accenture Cloud First organization was funded to serve this client needs when it comes to reinvent the organization in the cloud. We can say that we have a multi-year experience on massive migration program. What we can put on the table of our customer are a cloud migration framework or a cloud migration and a cloud migration factory able to cover the overall migration process. We have a well-defined delivery model, but not only. We can say that we have around the globe more than 130,000 cloud-first experts supporting the migration, as well as 100 of delivery centers around the globe. And not only, we have 100 of reusable assets that enable us to accelerate the migration. And part of these assets is the Accenture Cloud Innovation Center. Thanks to moving to the slide. Very quickly, we are talking about an innovation hub that is dedicated to advancing the cloud first offering. We launched this initiative in 2018 with the primary goal to identify and develop innovative solutions to address the customer business needs, and migration is one of these. The center in particular offers the opportunity to efficiently evaluate the feasibility and security of cutting-edge cloud services, including migration, application modernization, application transformation approach. But the powerful of the center is that our customers that visit the center can understand what does mean performing migration, not only via slide, but accessing to real scenarios, touching with hands the solutions that are powered by our technology partner, and Veeam and Red Hat are two of our main one.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I know when you read about the challenges that organizations face with cloud migrations, having the people to do it is a top challenge. So I'm sure that knowing that Accenture has over 100,000 folks that are trained experts on this, and that Accenture can actually let them see it and see how it's going to work before they commit to the project would make a huge difference. It's very exciting offering. So Fevzi, let's turn to you real quickly. Let's talk about OpenShift, which comes up in cloud conversations all the time. Your team has worked extensively with Accenture. Could you describe that process a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Accenture is one of our great partners, same like Veeam Kasten. And we really have a tight collaboration with the migration framework. And I just want to stress it out. I mean, Accenture is definitively one of our most strategic service integration partner. And we have done lots of good things together. I mean, the experience and the that Accenture has around building sovereign clouds and working in cloud environments has been really instrumental for our success. And we're really tight with the collaboration of the migration factory, of the migration framework. It provides a well-defined delivery model sought by our joint customers.
Fantastic. Fevzi, let's stick with that just for a second, because obviously we've talked about Accenture's value proposition, things like the Cloud Innovation Center in Rome. We've mentioned Veeam Kasten, and we'll get to that a little bit more later on. But let's dig into the value proposition and sort of what OpenShift brings to the table as a platform for Red Hat's customers, and the way that it's in place in the Innovation Center in Rome. Can you talk about the OpenShift platform a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's face it. We live both in the cloud and on-prem. I mean, hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, all different variants of type cloud. And it's in the nature of the businesses. And it's also part of like regulatory and non-functional requirements that are out there. And OpenShift Container Platform meets the market with these three pillars. So we take care of management at scale across data centers through public cloud and edge. And we secure our platforms and apps on a scale with OpenShift Platform Plus across the fleet of clusters. We accelerate the adoption and reduce the operational overhead when OpenShift is managed cloud services. And it doesn't matter where you run it, if you run it on AWS, Azure, Google, or IBM Cloud. And we use it to scale apps to edge servers and devices connected with OpenShift and Red Hat Device Edge. If we look at the second pillar here, which is about the modernized applications, it's all about increase that developer productivity with OpenShift developer services. It is to accelerate modern training, serving MLOps and build more intelligence apps with OpenShift AI, and to simplify the application connectivity with cloud-native frameworks and services with OpenShift Application Server. And the third pillar we're looking at is the modernized infrastructure. So Red Hat is an infrastructure company. We provide platforms. We need our partners to create a stronger value proposition moving forward. So with the modernized infrastructure part, we want to bring VMs to a cloud-native platform with OpenShift virtualization. We want to produce hardware capabilities like with Dell Apex and HP GreenLake. We want to modernize the OpenStack deployments with OpenStack services on top of OpenShift and security throughout the entire platform and application lifecycle. So all of this is to increase functionality and to enable this the supply chain security, which is a very well needed thing.
There's a lot of conversations about that right now. Absolutely. Because we have, I think, time in today's schedule, let me ask you to expand a little bit on one of the points in your second pillar here, and that is OpenShift AI and AI and machine learning. One of the things that has become apparent to us at Veeam Kasten is that basically containerized applications are the default choice now for a lot of the new AI applications that are getting rolled out. Can you talk about what Red Hat is seeing in terms of that and what you're seeing about adoption specifically for new AI and machine learning applications?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything with AI starts with data. So it starts with either structured or non-structured data. So the data play is really, really strong. So what customers really want is they want to get the added value by using AI. They don't want to think about, okay, so how do this data flow between end systems? How do I secure it? How do I ensure that the infrastructure underneath can scale up and down? How can I make sure that the resources are not like bound to physical devices, but that I can like allocate, say, I need this much GPU capacity because I want to train that model. So OpenShift abstracts that layer. So it helps to meet those requirements that you have in order to be able to consume it fast, securely, and reliably as a platform.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Let's take a quick break and jump out to the map. Serena, Jeffrey, let's take a look and see what we have. I think right now, if we take a look, we have folks who have joined us from here in North America. We have folks here in Chicago that have joined, as well as me in Connecticut. We also have in Europe folks who have joined us, if we cut out, who've joined us in Belgium, who've joined us in Poland, in the UK, and in Armenia. And if we head down to the Southern Hemisphere, we have someone who's dialed in from Nigeria, or people who've dialed in from Nigeria. So great to have you on board. We'll look forward to updating the map as we go along today. Let's move back, Giovanni, to you. I've got a quick question for you about what the ASIC does specifically. If we look at the Accenture Innovation Center in Rome that you mentioned earlier, obviously you've got a lot of offerings that you've got there. How does the ASIC and what you oversee as CTO there accelerate the process of application modernization and cloud adoption for the customers that you work with?
Jeff, that's one of the most important things. Let me start, first of all, from the approach that we typically use. In particular, the activity that we did in ASIC and we do in ASIC are related to what customers are asking to us. And let me say that Fevzi anticipated that some of the typical questions that we receive from the customer, for example, we talked about application modernization, we talked about AI. For example, now in ASIC, we are working with the Red Hat on private AI scenarios, but the same things with Veeam, talking about data protection and sovereignty, that in Europe is one or other hot topic of the moment. How can be sure that we are always aligned with the regulation? And I will spend time to describe some of the opportunity that we managed with Veeam. Is starting from this point and through a really powerful collaboration process, including ASIC, partner, and customer, that we can move from typical concept idea to something that is real. And we do this with a really simple but powerful approach that I hope we can use with all the customers that can be here today, but not only. In particular, we have three different phases. First of all, we talk about the innovation ignition. What I mean, think to the typical design thinking approach when we sit around the table with the customer, physical or virtually, to talk about the technology, to talk about the needs, the business needs that our customer has. A discussion that we powered leveraging on technology and on our catalog that include already more or less more than 100 prototypes that we have developed with the ASIC partners. Then we move to a second phase. The output of the first moment is an idea. We need to transform this idea in reality. We design a prototype, we design a use case, what we call it use case, and we are ready to support our customer to see in reality what we discussed. And we arrive to the third point, that is one of the most important for us, how we achieve the target to transform the idea in reality. We do this not only putting together two important things, our role as a system integrator, as Fevzi anticipated before, and technology. Only putting together these two things, we can show to the customer how what we discussed, how we defined this idea can be something real. And most important things, we can do these things without any commercial constraints for our customer. It's a real open discussion, and we are here to support them, to touch with them the technology and what we can achieve with them.
That makes a ton of sense. And because Accenture has done the integration work in advance, because you have chosen best of breed technologies, that takes the pressure off of your customers to have to make those investments and go through that lengthy process themselves, because it's already set and you have experience putting it in place already. Yep. Yes. Yep. Great value prop. Definitely. I love it. Love the clarity of this slide as well. Fevzi, let's go back to you. One of the things, as I'm sure both of you know, Veeam does a ton of research, and one of the things that has interested us and that we've seen specifically with Kasten is that there's a fair bit of data movement when people adopt cloud platforms. Things don't stay in one place. Things migrate from on-prem to the cloud and back. Can you talk, Fevzi, a little bit about what Red Hat has seen in that area for OpenShift customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely see movement of data because of various different scenarios, use cases, and requirements that are driving that. But we really have some great examples. And one of the public ones we have is Sopra Steria, where we're looking for a cloud-native data management for Kubernetes clusters in public clouds for backup and restore, with disaster recovery, migration, and compliance. Another of our public references is Zenseact. Zenseact is active in autonomous driving and safety software for Volvo. So that's what they're doing. One of the benefits for their end users was to have the reduced risk of data loss and major savings in development cycles by easily back up and recover VMs and containers. And they even presented this case at Red Hat Summit last year. and they're doing quite cool stuff there. When you see how the machine learning happens for autonomous driving, etc., it's actually quite cool. And the amounts of data you have is massive. And of course, they need to propagate it back and front. They can't keep everything everywhere because that is also a cost associated with that.
Makes a ton of sense. So let's dial in just a little bit more. Obviously, just like Giovanni has done and Accenture have done in the Accenture Innovation Center in Rome, Red Hat has a partnership with Veeam Kasten as well, and Veeam Kasten and the way it works together with OpenShift is very much a known quantity. Our teams work together all the time. Can you talk a little bit more, Fevzi, from the Red Hat perspective about the partnership and how Kasten and OpenShift work together?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what can I say? We are simply better together. I mean, this is definitely where 1 + 1 = 3 or even higher. We provide more value to our customers together, and collaboration is key to success here. This is where OpenShift Container Platform meets Kasten Data Management Platform, and we get a lot of good synergies going on here. We get OpenShift backup and disaster recovery. We get mobility, migration updates. It helps us to do hybrid cloud on AWS, Azure, and across hyperscalers. It helps with the integration of OpenShift virtualization and a lot of other things like application-specific management, etc. We have really complementary product offerings where both of us as companies are leaders in our own segments. And Veeam is a industry leader in data protection, as recognized by different analysts. And Red Hat is an industry leader in container platforms, and we're recognized by Forrester, Gartner, etc. Together, we bring businesses continuity to data and protection to application modernization across multi-cloud environments and also on-prem, so all types of environments. Both organizations, Veeam and Red Hat, we're very ecosystem-centric organizations. And by doing this, we can activate our ecosystem. And we're working on quite a few concrete opportunities, like migration from traditional virtualization to OpenShift virtualization, to mobility within OpenShift, to migration updates. It's a lot of them. All of these topics are hot in the market, and we need to see this as a serious services opportunity for us. And we have several references in industry segments, and 50% of the Kasten deployments are already running OpenShift. So we have a great partnership going on here.
That number is really, really interesting to hear that 50% of our Kasten deployments are running OpenShift. I also want to go back to something that you mentioned just a minute ago, which is OpenShift virtualization. As everyone I think knows, Veeam has specialized in backing up virtualized platforms for many years now. For basically all 15 years Veeam has been around. What's interested me, Fevzi, is that especially given some recent licensing and maintenance changes by VMware, we're seeing a lot more interest in the market in OpenShift virtualization and in people going from the traditional virtualization platforms to virtualization running inside containers. Has that been Red Hat's experience as well?
I mean, we have to see this as a compelling event in the market, and I think that a lot of organizations today are actually evaluating different alternatives and to figure out what their virtualization strategy and vendor, etc., will look for the future. And Red Hat is definitely one of the stakeholders here, but we also have an ecosystem that we're working together. So we're definitely can be part of that journey moving forward.
Very good. Very good. Giovanni, we're going to cut back to you in just a second, but before we do that, let's go back to our map because we do have some additional updates for where folks are joining us from today. We have additional dial-ins from France. In Africa, Nigeria has been joined by Angola. Also down in South America, we have Brazil that has joined in, and we have folks who have joined us from India today that are now in the call as well. So thanks to everyone else who's joined. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We do have one question from the chat that I'd like to do. And Fevzi, this is going to be for you right before we move on. We have the question, are there any AI-enabled features such as auto-healing for VMs? I'm not familiar with that type of capability, and if you're not, we can put a pin in that and come back to it after today's call. But if you've got anything to say about that with respect to OpenShift, we do have that question in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I want to stress this out. The majority of the opportunity that I see in the market is not, when it comes to AI, is not inside of virtualization. It happens in containers. So, and in the case of containers, we definitively do have different ways and mechanisms to handle it. When it comes to the virtualization part, that is a place where we need to look at our joint value proposition, like the backup restore of data and the mobility. So that will have to be a joint value proposition that we provide to the market. But where OpenShift AI happens is mainly in containers. That's where I see the market at this point of time.
Very good, very good. Thank you. Giovanni, let's circle back to the same question for you. I asked Fevzi just a second ago, what is the joint Red Hat Veeam Kasten value proposition? Obviously, at the ASIC, you've got this installed and running. What have you found that Kasten fits into the offerings that you've got at the ASIC that you can show customers? How does that partnership work from the Accenture side?
Definitely. Let me say, first of all, the slide that you are showing is really important because in particular on the left describe several integration that, for example, we have between Red Hat and Kasten that enable us to perform particular services in an easy way for our customers. And we have several examples in ASIC. In particular, thinking to the example Fevzi did before, let me think to some of the topic that could be considered customer needs or technology feature, like, for example, how secure the application, how enable mobility of the application in multi-cloud environments. And not only, our customers are asking some easy question, how can backup and protect our application? How can manage disaster recovery? And one of the most important, in particular, thinking to the sovereign cloud, how can be cyber resilient? With Red Hat and with the Veeam, we identified two technology supporting us to address a lot of this question. And in particular, and especially we focused on two scenarios. The first one, Fevzi anticipated before, how migrate across hybrid deployment. Typical question that we receive, how can avoid the technology lock-in, for example? How we can move application from cloud to on-prem and vice versa? Or talking about Red Hat OpenShift, how we can speed up the OpenShift, the migration between different OpenShift versioning. For example, between OpenShift 3.x and 4.x. Well, in ASIC, we developed these scenarios that are really technical, difficult to describe with a slide, because the powerful of the solution is that we automatically, leveraging automatic capability, we can move an application and we can enable a customer to move with a few clicks an application between different environments. But not only, the slide that you are showing now is related to the infrastructure cyber resiliency. Especially in Europe, as I said before, our customer must comply with the national and European sovereignty rule. We can think to NIST or in particular to DORA, the Digital Operational Resiliency Act. We are talking about a regulation aiming to reinforce IT security for financial entity, bank, insurance, asking to this company to be ready to be cyber resilient in case of any type of operational disruption. Well, in ASIC, with considering our role in the sovereign cloud practice that we launched in 2022 in Accenture, and ASIC is part of this practice, we managed this problem leveraging Red Hat and Veeam. How? OpenShift, Fevzi anticipated before. enable us with tools like ACM and ACS to perform an easy management of complex scenarios, as well as with Veeam, because the infrastructure is not enough, but how we protect data. And with Veeam, we can protect the data, leveraging immutable backup, air gapping capability, and so on. So putting together this technology, we can arrive to solve this particular problem.
This is great. Thank you so much, Giovanni. And folks, we could go on about this forever. Unfortunately, we don't have time. We have to wrap right now. But what I will say, if you're interested in the topics that we've talked about today, I mentioned that Fevzi is joining us today from the Red Hat Summit in Dubai, but Fevzi will also be at the Red Hat Summit in Denver next week, as will Veeam. And if you'd like to learn more about Veeam's participation, you can scan the QR code that we're showing here. Let me wrap also by saying, for our regular listeners, you know that we have Thursday Tech Bites. This week, Thursday, May 2nd, we will have our Veeam 100 community with the topic, Honey, I Shrunk the RTOs, about getting your recovery time optimized using Veeam. Next week, Industry Insights returns on Tuesday, May 7th, and I will be interviewing Veeam Field Chief Information Security Officer Ray Heffer. We'll join you live from the RSA conference in San Francisco to talk about what Veeam is hearing from CISOs in the field today. Giovanni, Fevzi, thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed today's conversation.